Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. This is the first Shrek movie to come out in theaters in over a decade, so needless to say, as the big fan of Shrek that I am, I was pretty hyped to see this thing. Antonio Banderas returns as the legendary Puss in Boots. He discovers here that his passion for fearless adventure has taken its toll. He has burnt through 8 of his 9 lives, pretty carelessly as well. So Puss sets out on an epic journey to find the mythical wishing star and restore his 9 lives. In case it wasn't obvious by this point, I love Shrek. I must have rewatched that original movie on DVD from 2001. I don't even know how many times, like all the time. It was always on. The originality of this movie still holds up over 20 years after the fact. And it was such a huge catalyst for my love of movies at such a young age. And I still love that original movie to this very day. Shrek 2, which I did get to see in the theaters when I was like 8 years old. I think that Shrek 2, unironically, is one of the greatest comedies ever made for film. And of course, one of the big show stealers from Shrek 2 was Antonio Banderas as Puss in Boots. And let's just say that he shines once again in The Last Wish. He just oozes cool every single time you see him. But there's a lot more vulnerability to this character than we're used to. Yeah, we're used to him being the fearless hero that we all know and love. But this is what really struck me about The Last Wish. Puss in Boots pretty much has to face his own mortality. And the themes in this movie are so incredibly dark. I think the publicity and the trailers for this movie, God, don't even get me started. The trailers for The Last Wish are pretty much made to get the little ones in the theater. It shows off the slapstick, it shows off the cutesiness of the movie, but it doesn't really give away entirely what the movie is all about. Puss in Boots pretty much has to conquer his own fear of death, which he's pretty much been masquerading this whole time. And I don't want to get too deep into details about what exactly he does to actually face his fears and everything like that, but it's breathtaking. And I just can't help but smile when I think about this movie, because I pretty much just sat through one of the biggest surprises of 2022. Because as I've mentioned, the trailers for this movie pretty much did not make me excited to watch it at all. I pretty much looked at it and was like, really? This seems like such a pointless entry into an already amazing saga. Well, not to mention, the animation is completely different from the original films, which now, after sitting through the movie, my friends, I'm gonna eat my words real quick. The animation is breathtaking. DreamWorks has stepped their game up considerably. This is very similar animation style to The Bad Guys. Some people have even compared this to Into the Spider-Verse, which is a huge compliment. And I don't really think it's fair for my OCD to take over and critique this movie for having a different animation style, especially when you compare it to all the other Shrek movies. Because if that turns out to be true, I should be sitting here criticizing Toy Story 4 for not looking like 1995. Isn't advancement in technology what we really want? Shouldn't we all want this animation to become even more beautiful as our lives go on? Because this movie is not only colorful, Puss in Boots and Kitty Southpaws have such great detail on them. The 3 bears have excellent attention to detail in their character design. And it's just a straight up colorful movie to look at. Absolutely would recommend seeing this on the biggest screen possible. Especially if you have youngsters in your family over for the holiday season. I'm sure they're going to get a kick out of this. I will warn you, there are some very dark elements to this movie. Especially when Puss in Boots literally has to face his fear in the form of death, which takes the form pretty much of a big bad wolf. No dresses found in this big bad wolf this time. What? Joking aside, this thing is fucking terrifying. It's like if you took the old spaghetti western anthems from like the Clint Eastwood epics of his early career, and then you put the most horrific pitch to it. Oh my god, and this thing's red eyes as well, and his design with his weapons, it's so awesome. And I'll also mention, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish has a very hard PG rating. This is another thing that I really respected about the comedy in the Shrek movies. Absolutely unapologetic. And this is pretty much a direct callback to Shrek 1's approach to comedy. They have no qualms about putting in the naughtiest language possible, and that kind of makes the comedy all the better for it. I'm sitting there as a 26-year-old man laughing my ass off. While I'm on the topic of Shrek 1, some of you might be wondering, are there characters from any of the previous Shrek movies that appear in this one? Yes. That would be in the form of the three bears, who had a very, very small part in the original. This cage is too small! But now the three bears are outlaws themselves, who are searching for the wishing star, basically to fulfill their deepest heart's desires. And they are accompanied by Goldilocks on this adventure. That's Florence Pugh voicing her too, and honestly, you could have never guessed it was her. Like, I literally had to look it up, and I was like, I've heard that voice somewhere. But Florence Pugh, last name I would have ever imagined voicing her. She does such a good job at masking herself, not only in this voice that she does, but just in her performance and her inflections on this dialogue. She is continuing to prove herself to be a master at her craft. Again, definitely keep an eye out for her, especially as the 2020s roll on. We also have Salma Hayek in this movie playing Kitty Southpaws, Puss in Boots' love interest, essentially. And she's knocking it out of the park as she usually does. Her and Antonio Banderas have amazing chemistry. And this kind of leads me into a couple of nitpicky issues that I had with The Last Wish. This movie could have very dangerously fallen down the same path that Shrek 1 did with the romantic misunderstanding. This movie sort of does that, but it adds enough of its own unique twist on this narrative that it basically stands out amongst the rest. And it's a really heartbreaking dynamic, and I don't want to get too deep into why it's so heartbreaking, but I was actually really freaking invested in this romance. And I should get into him. Joining Puss in Boots on this adventure is this little Chihuahua perrito. He is basically, if Puss in Boots is Shrek in this movie, Perrito is essentially Donkey. And I wish Perrito was a little bit funnier. Like, he got some laughs out of me. Not gonna deny that. But I wanted him to be hilarious. Like Eddie Murphy in the original Shrek movies, untouchable. Absolutely hysterical. Perrito was just funny. And I don't know if it was the performance or the character design or some of the gimmicks that he had, like with the tummy rubs and everything, or trying to copy the iconic, adorable Puss in Boots eye trick that he does. Still can't get enough of that. I'm not gonna look at it. No, but as a sidekick, he was serviceable for what the movie needed. But as it stands, this is honestly the best Shrek movie that we've gotten since 2004 when Shrek 2 came out. I can't believe I'm saying that because, again, the publicity for this movie absolutely did not make me want to see it. I was very reluctant to go to this theater tonight, but I am very, very glad I did. Because if there's one thing you can learn from DreamWorks Studios, and I've been watching their movies pretty much as long as I've been alive by this point, but it's to never judge a book by its cover. Case in point, the original Shrek movies, Kung Fu Panda as well. Oh my God, I did not want to see that movie when I was 11 years old. Thought it sounded so stupid. And yet, all three Kung Fu Panda movies are great. DreamWorks continues to knock their projects out of the park. The Bad Guys this previous spring was a lot of fun. I feel like I prefer The Last Wish over that, though. I don't know if it's the nostalgia or more connection to the characters or what have you, but every single character in this movie had clear motivation. They all had really fun little quirks about them. I didn't even talk about Jack Horner, who's a little side villain in this. He was so funny. Kind of had similar man-child characteristics that Lord Farquaad had. Honestly, there is not a lot of negative I can say about this movie, guys. I highly recommend that you guys get your whole family together, go to the movie theater, and just have a great time with this one. I'm going to give Puss in Boots The Last Wish an A. I cannot believe that sentence just came out of my mouth. One last thing before I sign off, guys. Especially if you're a big fan of Shrek like I am, I strongly, strongly urge you to go and support this movie in the theaters. Please. Because without giving too much away, the ending is pretty much hinting that there's gonna be more of these. And you know how they know that we want them to make more of them? The money. The box office returns. So go see this movie in the theaters, guys. Let them know that we want to see more Shrek movies come out of this. Because damn, that would just make my year if I got to see another mainstream Shrek movie and not just a spin-off. But guys, let me know what you thought of Puss in Boots The Last Wish down in the comment section below. What is your favorite movie in the Shrek franchise so far? Who's your favorite character to come out of the Shrek franchise? Guys, as always, I love making these videos for you guys and starting the discussion about all new things in cinema and entertainment, and getting to interact with you guys makes things all the more fun for me. So if you're a new viewer, do consider becoming a subscriber and hit that notification bell right next door. That way you don't miss a second more of the action. And do me a favor and smash the like button, because these really help get this content out there to more lovely viewers like you. And guys, stay tuned for more exciting content hitting this channel very, very soon. I've got a couple more new releases that I gotta watch before I feel comfortable making my best and worst of the year countdowns. And guys, stay tuned for a very special holiday surprise this Saturday, Christmas Eve. You do not want to miss the review I have in store for you. Guys, thank you again so much for your support. Y'all are the best. And with all that being said, Back Talk, commence.